Hi everyone, this is Pennsylvania attorney Evan Gutman, here to present the next video in my video series, legal education video series, based upon the good moral character requirement to become a licensed attorney. The video series is based upon a book I wrote and have discussed in prior videos of this series, which is titled State Bar Admissions and the Bootlegger's Son. The entire book is available on both of my websites. I have two of them. One is titled heavensadmissions.com and the other website is gutmanvaluations.com. In addition to my book, State Bar Admissions and the Bootlegger's Son, both websites also have a supplement that I wrote to the book, as well as a fictional novel I wrote that is titled Heaven's Admissions Process. The fictional novel is a somewhat humorous, lighthearted novel, and it compares the criteria for being admitted into heaven with the criteria on earth for obtaining a law license with respect to the good moral character standard. So today's video is video 14, and in an earlier video, actually a few of the earlier videos, I discussed the organization that came into existence in 1931, titled the National Conference of Bar Examiners. And when they came into existence, they started publishing a magazine in order to establish and promote what they considered to be a good standard for moral character, and which I believe is subjective in nature and is a horrible standard. But the magazine that they published is called the Bar Examiner. And it's called the Bar Examiner because essentially it was designed to be distributed to the leaders of many bar associations in the nation and the admissions committees associated with those bar examiners to determine basically who should become a lawyer and how the standard should be applied and to write articles on it. In the mid-1990s, I came across this magazine and I went to a law library and I literally read every single article in the Bar Examiner magazine up until about 1950 or so. From about 1931, any articles on good moral character I read, and I was shocked with what I read. I didn't really read a lot of the articles after that because what I found is that the most incriminating information about how the legal profession adopted this standard was in the early versions of the magazine. If you read the magazine in later years, they toned it down quite a bit, but the things they wrote, which today still form the basis for how the standard is applied, in large part, not entirely, in large part though, are incredible. They really are. I mean, the things they wrote are incredible. First of all, 1931 to 1945, those were the years of Nazi Germany, the years of Adolf Hitler, and the Bar Examiner magazine expressed quite a bit of support for Adolf Hitler, which is amazing to think about, that in the United States, the Bar Examiner magazine by the National Conference of Bar Examiners from the years 1931 to 1946 expressed quite a bit of support for the manner in which Nazi Germany handled its own legal profession. So today's video, I'm going to read some of the quotes, and they're interesting. And by the way, the citations to all these quotes are in my book. They're both in the fictional novel, Heaven's Admissions Process, as well as State Bar Admissions and the Bootlegger's Son. And today I'm going to read some of the quotes. Like I said, the citations are in the books, and you can find them on my website, it's easy enough. So one of the things they wrote, quote, "But I think that the place to draw social and racial lines of this sort, if anywhere, is at the portals of the bar associations." In other words, they're basically saying, let's make moral character determinations in many respects based upon a person's race, as well as their economic status, with respect to social lines. Another interesting quote is, we do not necessarily have the feeling that we should keep the door partly open for another Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln, widely recognized one of the greatest presidents ever, if not the greatest, and it was clear the bar associations did not like him. Next quote. The bar should seek to develop a consciousness permeating its whole membership that whatever is done primarily concerns it and its welfare. The concept being the judiciary and legal profession function for the purpose of enriching lawyers. They're not really there to fairly and impartially adjudicate cases. That's luckily, if you're lucky, that's like a side effect. But the real reason they're there is to enhance the economic standing of lawyers. Next one. This is a very good one, because as most of you who have viewed some of my prior videos know, my main objection is the subjective assessment of good moral character, as opposed to the way it should be, which would be based upon objective criteria. And this is what they wrote in the Bar Examiner. It would seem that in regards to those borderline cases, it would be necessary to give the Committee of Bar Examiners an arbitrary discretion, that the committee should not be required to give any reasons upon which their decision was made. In other words, if they like you, they let you in. If they don't like you, they'll find a reason to deny you admission based upon the fact that they assert, even if baseless, that you don't have good moral character, and they shouldn't even be required to give reasons for it. They should just be able to have an arbitrary discretion to just do what they want to do. Another quote. If the interviewer has been swindled by someone with a hooked nose, he feels that persons with hooked noses should not be trusted. And if a man of the Jewish race has double-crossed him in the past, he tends to place less confidence in other members of that race. So clearly they didn't like Jewish applicants. And as previously indicated, they didn't like black applicants, immigrants, or women. Those were the people they typically tried to exclude from the profession on the alleged baseless ground that they lacked good moral character. Another quote. A proper regard for the public interest must cause the members of our profession grave concern where it is apparent that many lawyers are not making a decent living. There you have basically the reason the good moral character standard is adopted in a subjective manner, because the real concern they have is that some lawyers may not be making a decent living economically. So that's what it's about. There are times when they make it very, very easy to pass the moral character standard. Very, very easy. It's still subjective entirely, but it's very, very easy. Here's a case where it's very easy to get into the state bar and get a law license based upon articles in the Bar Examiner. Here's the quote. In the case of an applicant who is the son or other close relative of a reputable member of the bar, not a great deal of examination is required. So if you're related to somebody who's well regarded in the bar, you're in. And then here's the last one I'm going to quote. There's other ones in my book, so I would encourage you to read the PDF basically that's associated with this chapter. You can see basically the other quotes, but here is an incredible quote. This is really incredible. This quote actually was published in the year 1940 1943 in the Bar Examiner. Now, at that point in time, Germany, clearly fascist Nazi government, they had pretty much lost World War II. It wasn't done yet, but it looked like they were going to lose the war by October 1943. And this is what the Bar Examiner magazine wrote in 1943. Consider this one. Our European brothers went further. Der Führer, in 1935, issued a decree that for a period of years, no more lawyers should be admitted to practice, unquote. A lot of interesting things about this quote. First of all, they're referring to the leaders of Nazi Germany as their European brothers. Second of all, they're clearly referring to him as der Führer. And additionally, they're supporting the concept of not admitting further lawyers to practice, because the more lawyers you have, the less money each individual lawyer will make. They want few lawyers so that all of them are very, very well paid. Basic supply-demand utilization criteria supported by the bar examiners, who are setting forth the good moral character standard, which, in all fairness, is largely applied today. They don't say as many stupid things as in the Bar Examiner magazine at that point in time, but they still actually do say enough stupid things. And it is basically applied the same way. And you can just look at the application, and which is a very, very lengthy application, which I've discussed in prior videos here, including the one that's titled the chapter, How the State Bar Admissions Process Really Works. So anyway, I hope you found this interesting. Please look at the PDF, see more of the quotes and the citations to them. And we'll see you again in another day, 2 or 3 or 4 with the next video. And remember, love right, don't fight. Bye.